All right, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Music. I'm your host, Kyle Williams, and this is the #1 web show where aspiring independent artists and do-it-yourself musicians can learn right now how to gain wider exposure, grow a strong base of raving fans, and make a living doing what they love. And I just want to make a quick announcement. I know I've been making quick announcements in the past couple of episodes, but I just want to give a shout out. Thanks to everyone who's pledged for the Kickstarter. By the time you watch this interview, the Kickstarter will be close to coming to a close, and it has been successfully funded, and even more so than the initial goal. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's pledged and everyone who has shared the Kickstarter to create a Seeds of Music podcast. So for our guest on this show, it's a really, really special, near and dear to my heart interview. It's having my very close friend, Mark Brooks from artofbaseball.net on the show as part one of a two-part video series interview that we're going to do on 6 things that you can do right now to bullseye your goals. Now, in the actual interview, I've messed up and said 5 things, but it's actually 6. And in this interview, we're going to go over 3 of those. Identify limiting beliefs, use fear as a motivator, and number 3, utilize the domino effect. So, like I said, it's really, really special interview for me. I've known Mark, for over 10 years, and he's a fellow entrepreneur who's built a business around his passion, which is baseball, just like I am building a business and a community around my passion, which is music, and helping you artists better get your music out there. So I hope you really enjoy this interview, and make sure to hop in the comment sections afterwards and let me know what you thought of this interview, because lately I have been trying a little bit of a different interview format where I try to keep it shorter and try to hit up bullet points in the interview, as opposed to the past interviews that have been more free-flowing. So yeah, please drop a comment and leave some feedback and let me know what you think of that, and if you want to see more or less of it, or what else you would like to see in the interview. So let's get to it. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Seeds of Music. I've got my really close friend, Mark Brooks, on the show. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. Looks like a lot of fun.
Guys, we actually did an interview early, and we were just winging it and doing some chit chat, and it didn't quite work out how I'd expected. So we'd like to come back, and we're just going to hit up 5 things that you can do right now as a musician to bullseye your goals. And first, I want to let you know a little bit about me and Mark's background. We've known each other for over 10 years. I like to think since 8th grade, and that's pretty much how I keep track of it. But Mark is an entrepreneur who's built a business online, utilizing personal development as a legitimate means to become a better baseball player. And he's built that into a successful business, and has also been kind of my not only my good friend, but my miniature mentor at the same time, with all things entrepreneur, building a brand, connecting with your fans, and building relationships. So
wait. Are we talking miniature because I'm shorter than you?
Yeah. Well, no, miniature as in you're not like Obi-Wan Kenobi, as in you're like way older than me. So maybe just like miniature in terms of age. But
gotcha. Fair enough.
So I want to like hand the mic over you, so to speak, and let you just riff a little bit on what, in your words, what exactly you do at Art of Baseball and how that came into being. So what's a quick story?
Yeah. So like I said, or like what you had mentioned, I played baseball, and after college, I kind of went through this really awkward phase where it wasn't necessarily a depression, but it was kind of this uncertainty of not necessarily knowing what I wanted to do next, because I hadn't invested so much time and energy into becoming a baseball player, professional baseball player, and I kind of built my life around this, projectable future as having that as my career. So when that didn't pan out, I kind of panicked, didn't really know what to do. But I think one thing that I had in my favor, kind of an advantage, was that I was extremely desperate. Desperate in the sense that I wanted to do something unique. I wanted to be accountable, and I didn't necessarily want to, have to be accountable to somebody else. I wanted to be accountable to myself. I didn't want to work for the man,
Yeah.
basically. So, so that's that was the advent of art of baseball was that. That started about 3 years ago, and then throughout that time, I think probably the biggest lesson that I learned was the idea of communicating value and building a tribe based on the content that you create. Because I mean, I would imagine that a lot of people that are on Seeds of Music that watch the interviews, a lot of the stuff is the same. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a musician or an entertainer, you're communicating value, and that value is different. For me, the value is a private lesson. It's an informational product. It's a service. For a musician, it's their music. It's
probably the emotion,
their
that they
performance.
elicit. Yeah,
exactly. Like like when I listen to a song, I'm listening to it because not only is it entertaining, but it changes my state. And I think that, and that's another thing. As a musician, you can either position yourself as two different types of musicians. You can be the one that's entertaining, or you can be the one that's kind of emotion driven. I think for me personally, I resonate more with the music that kind of changed my state, and that. I love score music. I love music that's created for specifically for movies. I'm kind of digressing here, but with art of baseball, it really was just kind of a long journey from understanding the basic principles of building a business. And a lot of that stuff is a lot easier to do now because of the advent of these platforms that have become available. But that's a long story short. I hope that kind of answered your question.
Well, it definitely does. And I just want to roll back for a second. I know I mentioned that this interview was about 5 things that musicians can do right now to bullseye their goals. Actually, it's 6. And this is going to be part 1 of that. And we're going to have like another interview where we'll bring Mark on and go over the last 3. So I just want to hit up this first one that we have here. Identify limiting beliefs. I mean, this is like ground zero for all achievement, because no matter what you do, if you hold like a core belief that is in opposition to what you want to achieve with your goals, no matter what they are, it just seems like you'll never get past that. So in your experience as the proprietor for artofbaseball.net, and a pretty badass individual, obviously, because you're my closest friend, what's been your process for identifying your limiting beliefs and overcoming them?
Oh, well, I mean, I think the first thing to understand is that everybody has them. Everybody has them, and it's. I think that the worst thing that you could do is kind of judge yourself for having them. That's kind of like a compounded flaw, is to kind of judge yourself for the flaws that you have. So I think that's the first thing, is understanding the truth that everybody has limiting beliefs. I think the second thing is understanding that almost all limiting beliefs are based on some sort of untested assumption. You know what I mean? Or some sort of misconception about yourself or about your environment, about the relationships that you have or the industry that you're in.
Like, my music isn't commercial, that's why I can't make a living.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one is I don't have enough experience. That's probably the biggest one. Not for me specifically. That was probably the thing that the challenge or the misconception that I had to overcome first was, nobody's going to pay me for my knowledge because of, I never played professionally, or I'm only 25. That's how old I was when I first started, or 24 or something like that. But I think that would be the first step. First, understanding that everybody has them, not judging yourself, and then understanding that 99.999% of your limiting beliefs are based on untested assumptions. So,
and societal BS too. I'd have to.
Yeah, there's a lot of conditioning that goes along with it, and I think what that kind of boils down to is conformity. I think that's part of the machine. It's like a dragon within society, is that we have to conform because, I mean, if you're not conforming, you're
changing. You're changing things, and people hate change. And if there's like a system, there's people that bank on this current system. And to relate this to music, that's like the large record labels and the large music publishers, people that have made like tons of money off of the way things are or the way things were actually. So
right.
they're not invested. They're not invested in change, and I think a lot of beliefs limiting beliefs for artists come from that era. You know,
right.
where you think that you have to be plugged into that big machine, and it's just not. It's flat out not true. Now
it's prevalent in every single niche, and what it is, it's a established. I guess it's established industry. I think that's what it kind of comes down to. So for example, in religion, it's dogma, it's tradition.
Yeah.
And in publishing, it's the big publishing houses that that want to publish books. And a really good example was what Tim Ferriss did back about a year ago with all of his books were banned from all the major bookstores, and yet he still was a bestseller. And I think that's kind of a testament to kind of the new kind of paradigm that we're shifting into as far as people publishing their own shit. It's a lot easier now.
Yeah.
But it also comes with its flaws, and I know that you know more about that than I do in terms of getting your message heard in a really crowded environment. But
yeah, it just comes down to like really having focus and knowing how to use the tools, like having practice with them. Just basically considering all of your efforts outside of the recording room or wherever you write as equally important and just as much of a skill and art form to learn. The second thing I want to hit up with you is this is using fear as a motivator, because a lot of times fear causes people to run away, but for you, you use it as a weapon. How exactly does that happen?
Yeah, I think that idea, I kind of have a specific plan that I use, but the idea or the concept first came to me from a book that I read. And in the book, the guy talked about how fear is a lot like fire, and how fire can keep you warm, it can cook the food, but at the same time, if you lose control of it, it could burn your house down and leave you scarred.
Yeah.
So I definitely, and there's been a learning curve, but I've definitely found kind of a happy place to where I can kind of leverage fear in a positive way. And I do that by asking 3 really important questions. I ask, whenever I'm trying to do something that's a challenge, or I'm trying to do something new, or I'm trying to be productive, or whatever it is that I'm trying to do, I ask 3 questions. I ask, why is it that I'm doing the thing that I'm doing? So for me, it's, why do I want to be an entrepreneur? For the subscribers of Seeds, it would be, why do you want to be a musician? Why do you want to be an entertainer? Yeah. You have to get really clear. I think clarity is key.
Is it for the music? Is it for the money? Is it for yourself? Is it for your family? Do you want to make them proud? It's really specific.
And everybody has their own reason. And if your incentive is something superficial or something materialistic, I think that's fine. If it inspires you to take daily action, then I'm all for it. But so that's the first question. The second question I asked is what is the second question? The second question is what will it feel like? What will it feel like once you achieve that that goal, or that you overcome that challenge?
Like, can you visualize it? Every morning.
Right. Can you kind of put your mind and your spirit, without sounding too new agey, in that kind of space? Can you? And really, what it comes down to is vibrations. Yeah, what it comes down to is vibrations.
Right.
And so that's the second question: is can you kind of visualize or use your imagination to kind of position yourself in that space without necessarily being there?
Yeah. I'm not making fun of that, by the way, guys. I actually do. I do visualization every morning. I just don't. I mean, I'm not in this position here. I'm just like I have a spot where I sit and I stare at a vision board. So I'm all for that. I mean, new age.
That's a perfect example. Is like you see these people make vision boards, and I think it's cool.
Don't be afraid to try anything. I mean, don't turn your nose up at anything if it's going to help you. If it's going to help you get where you want to be.
Right.
But you know what? I think I had told you this a long time ago that back when, a couple of years after we had first met each other, I think this was in high school, I had this kind of an epiphany when I was driving outside of my mom's house, and I remember just staring at the window and watching all the houses going by, and I was just happened to be contemplating this concept of fear, and I didn't fully understand the whole concept of fear and how how it relates to achieving like great things in life, but I've had this intuition that I would be fine no matter what I wanted to do with my life, as long as I always did things in spite of fear.
Right.
So in essence, I would look at things. Obviously, there's a difference between stupidity, and being fearless, So I wouldn't just do stupid things. But if there was something that I didn't want to do and I was just like afraid of it, but I knew it really, what's the worst thing it could do? It's not going to kill me. I knew that that's something I should be doing, and this harkens back to actually Seth Godin. I had been listening to one of his podcasts, and he said that there's only 3 things that he does. And guys, you can, when you're watching this interview, you should write this down, definitely. One is he doesn't watch TV unless it's Breaking Bad. He didn't say that, but I'm saying if it's Breaking Bad, you should watch that. It's an amazing show. But otherwise, like, he doesn't watch TV, he does not go to meetings, and he does things that scares him. So
Right.
I think it's the points you've made about just using fear as a motivator is the way to go. Which leads me to the third point.
Well, actually, I didn't get to finish the last. Or ask the last question.
Oh,
it was
sorry.
actually a 3-part question. So you want to hear it?
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, man.
So no problem. So the last question is
I got ahead of you.
basically what will it mean if you fail? Basically, pretty simple. Because I think everything that we do, we kind of attribute some sort of meaning to it, So for me, it's asking the right questions, So it's like, and that kind of ties everything back into using fear as a motivator. So if you can kind of, get into the space of what it would feel like once you achieve something, if you can also do the opposite and get into a space of what it would feel like if you failed, you know what I mean? That's a really powerful experience. And I think that if you're dealing with procrastination, if you're dealing with a limiting belief or misconception, I think that if you're using fear in that way, and it's vivid and it's kind of there, you can kind of experience it, emotionally, then I don't think things like procrastination are as hard to kind of overcome,
Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry about that. Well, that guys is the actual 3-part answer to that question, and yeah, I disagree. I think that if you could just follow that route, then and use that to get past your fears, then things just seem to kind of move forward and things just kind of fall into place. So the next the third point we wanted to go over is utilizing something you were calling the domino effect.
Right.
Can you explain a little bit about what you meant?
Yeah. That was actually, I wish it was something that I had made up, but it was actually from something that I read. I forgot the name of the guy who wrote the book. It was from a book called The One Thing. And it's basically like this really unique kind of analogy where the idea is you want to take that one thing that if you do great, if you do it successfully and you do it effectively, that it would make doing everything else irrelevant or unnecessary to do, kind of obsolete. So the idea is the domino effect, where if you take a domino and then you stack another domino that's double the size of the first one, the 15th domino would be the size of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? The 25th domino, I believe, would be the size between the distance between the Earth and the Moon. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, the very first domino that's very, very small has the kinetic energy or the potential energy within it to knock down something that's the size of the distance from the Moon to the Earth. That's really powerful. That's really cool, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is, if you're trying to start something, or you're trying to gain momentum, or you're trying to gain influence, or you're trying to do something that you've never done before, you want to focus on that one thing. And this kind of goes beyond the 80-20 rule, right? about being productive. This is
Yeah.
about the 99
To one. Yeah.
one rule. So as a musician or as an entertainer or as an artist, if you're trying to gain leverage, I think the first step would be to find that one thing that if you just really just pounded that and you did that every single day and you kind of mastered it, that it would make everything else irrelevant. And I think it starts with really understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are, being really honest with yourself and not, fabricating or having wishful thinking about how you think you should be. Kind of getting the ego out of the way, and kind of getting past the bullshit and getting to the bare bones. I think it would be the first step.
For you, what was the first domino for Art of Baseball?
It was probably just creating as much content as I can. The baseball community or the baseball industry online was already kind of established, but there were a few mediums with video and with blog writing that weren't being leveraged or weren't being taken advantage of as much as it could be. So that's probably what I set out to do the past couple of years, was to create as much content as I could. And that was a piece of advice that I kind of just picked up on from watching Gary Vaynerchuk videos. How he talked about building brand equity and then using that body of work as a way to kind of build credibility, build rapport with people that are willing to invest in you, and then go from there. So that's a perfect example of the fact that it's just really easy to gain momentum now more than ever. You don't need a publisher. You don't need someone to sign you to a record deal. You just create and you position it in a smart way, and you're patient.
And you develop some mad hustle.
Yeah, it's hustle, it's sweat, and it's patience. It doesn't happen overnight. But I mean, I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but there was a really cool quote where a guy said, "Infinite patience brings immediate results," and I think that holds true to something like this, because
could that have been Steve Pavlina?
I think it was Wayne Dyer. Actually.
Oh yeah,
it was Wayne Dyer. But so hope that answered the question.
No, it does. And the whole time I was thinking how awesome it would be to stack a bunch of dominoes that would eventually knock over the Leaning Tower of Pisa. But I was simultaneously listening at the same time, but I was imagining that in my head. But
that's kind of a hard concept to understand, because I've been trying to explain that to people, and they don't really seem like they get it. Like, how is the 15th domino the size of Leaning Tower? But what it is, it's a compounded process. It's like putting money in the bank with the high interest rate.
Yeah. Well, you think about in Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, that's what he talks about. And his explanation was that humans are hardwired to think linearly, not exponentially. So
exactly.
His example was folding the paper 50 times. How many times do you have to fold a piece of paper to reach like 3/4 of the way to the sun or whatever? And people are like, they say like thousands of times, but it's really 50. So it's like it's almost like humans we're not hardwired to really understand that off the bat, of this idea of exponential growth. And just to relate what you were saying about the domino effect to maybe for music, obviously the first domino is going to be the music. Otherwise, you've got nothing to transfer. You've got nothing to affect people emotionally. But for people who are watching the show, some of them already have their music together, and they're just and most of them are actually have it together tight, and they're trying to just get their music out there, get people to listen to it. And so I think in that sense, that first domino becomes building relationships with just a few hardcore fans, like converting them to super, super hardcore fans that will go to your shows and buy your albums, even though they could probably just pirate it for free or just stream it on Spotify, and they'll just want to support you.
Yeah. You want to, before you get the 1,000 true fans, which is what I think that's kind of the general consensus now is, if you're a creator and if you want to build a business based around your passion, find the 1,000 true fans. But I think first it starts with finding that core group who's going to evangelize, your personal brand, and that starts with just with a small group of people, small sample size.
True, and we got the technology to do it.
Yeah.
All right, man. Once again, thanks for coming on. Thanks so much.
This is awesome.
We did an awesome short little interview. Hey guys, if you like this kind of quick bulleted point interview, if you have any questions or comments on this kind of different format that we're doing for the information, just make sure to leave a comment on the box below on the page and let me know. I will respond as soon as you post it. All right. See you later, Mark.
Thanks, man.
And that wraps up another episode of Seeds of Music. On the show today, we have my good friend Mark Brooks from artofbaseball.net. So make sure to check out his links below and share his message. If you know anybody who plays baseball, who's maybe playing at the collegiate level or at the high school level, he's got really, really great resources to help them increase their bat speed or just, up their mental game. And so just share that link with them. You'd be doing them an awesome favor, because this dude is awesome. He's an awesome guy. I've known him for a long time, and he just has great content and a great community that he's built at Art of Baseball. So next is sign up for the email newsletter. If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and do that at seedsmusic.net. Put your email address into any of the forms on the site, and you'll get hooked up with free updates on the site. You'll never miss another interview. And also, if you like this interview and felt like you gained something of use from it, make sure to hit that like button, hit that share button, and spread it far and wide. Lastly, comment on the video. What was your greatest takeaway from the interview? How will you apply what you've learned here, these 3 bullet points that we went over? And who would you like to see interviewed in the future? If you would like to be interviewed, that's awesome too. All you got to do is send an email to kyle.seedsmusic@gmail.com. I answer every freaking email I get all the time. So at the most, it'll take 2 days to get back to you, but I'm pretty good on that stuff. So feel free, actually, please email me. I would love to hear from you. So until next time.